Hello.
Hey, hi
Hi.
folks. So Henry is supposed to, as the chair, Henry is supposed to log into the shared account to host the meetings. That's how this works.
What is that login?
If you're the person who's going to be hosting them, I'll email it to you tomorrow. But
Okay.
we're keeping it, it's shared, but we're still trying to control that information.
Yeah, I'm the secretary and I'm sort of managing all of the communication stuff.
Cool.
So that would be helpful if I had it.
Okay, cool.
Thanks.
So I'll transfer hosting to you, Miriam, then.
That's terrific. And looks like Janice is there. I'll try to email Henry and let him know. You can all sign in now.
All right.
Thank
Miriam,
you
you're
so
the
much.
host now.
All right,
Yep,
thank you.
no problem. All right, bye.
Okay, a few hiccups. Hi, Greg.
Hey, how are you, Miriam?
I'm good.
Good. Yeah, well, in this world of Zoom, etc., we'll get really good at it at some point.
I'm not seeing, I'm seeing clicks. I'm not seeing people trying to get in. Oh, wait, here, I got it.
Henry just sent us a new URL.
Oh, I don't know why he did that, but anyway, I'm going
to reply to him.
Yeah, he should try to sign into this. I've got host privileges, so I can admit people.
Last time we had problems with the Zooming, Henry tried to do a workaround by setting up a new meeting and then emailing everybody the new link.
Right.
Yeah, but he was probably doing that with his own Zoom account, which we can't do.
Yeah,
I talked with him about that. We can't do that.
Yeah.
Hi, Mary Lou. Hi, John.
Hi.
Hello.
Henry was here. Where's Henry? Is he emailing me? Where's Henry? Henry.
Sounds like Henry.
No, that won't work. Sign in to the link on the town page. So Henry's trying to use his own email account, which we cannot do. That we could not have an official meeting if it's not on the posted town website. And now I've lost everybody. Where are you? Okay, there you go.
Well, we're all here.
Okay.
So
Janice, could you email everybody just to remind them that they need to try to, because Henry sent out that link. Okay. Now we may have some problems. So tell people not to sign into Henry's, but to come back to the link on the town webpage.
Okay.
Am I in the right universe?
You are. This is the legitimate place to be.
Good on you, John.
Hello.
Parallel and actually the same.
Parallel universes.
Yes. Let's bring that forward.
Hey.
Okay.
Is Henry getting the message? I've got too many emails.
I responded to his email, but I don't know what he's doing now.
Oh, here we go. Somebody's here. I keep losing my, all right, we've got.
Yep, that should be okay.
Don't see anybody else.
So are we being taped?
Yeah.
We are. Very good.
All meetings are taped.
Very good.
That's kind of embarrassing.
You don't have to have the video on if you don't want it.
No, I mean, we're having difficulty getting all this Zoom difficulty is now recorded for posterity as well.
Yeah, we'll live on forever.
I'm sure we're not the only ones though.
I just don't like it when I'm in a Zoom meeting and all of a sudden I notice like I have some hair sticking up right here. and I start doing this and it won't flatten down and I can't not look at it.
I think I'm back now.
Hi.
My laptop, it keeps dropping its wireless. So if I disappear, it's nothing personal. And I'll try really hard to get right back on again.
Interestingly, John, your face is out of focus, but the wall behind you is in focus.
Well,
That's strange. But anyhow,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't even know what's happened. I'm in some stupid, I'm sorry.
John, you could, if you want to log out and access this through your telephone just for audio only, you can do that.
I just, I got to remember how to use these things. That's all.
Yep.
I usually just live on the phone, but I like having the PC
mm,
so I can use my phone as a tool.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're waiting for Henry.
Yeah. And I don't know about John Warwick.
Okay.
Or
You said
Karen?
Henry was here earlier?
I was talking to him.
Oh,
So
Okay.
he called me when we started. He was noticing that we didn't have the login stuff. So we'll make, oh, here's Leslie Bracebridge.
there she is. Yes, connecting to audio.
Let me call Henry.
Yeah, because he hasn't
Oh,
responded
here he
to
is.
the
Here he
email
is.
I sent.
We got it. We got
Leslie,
it.
you're muted,
Oh, Leslie's joining us.
but she's muted at the moment. And this Henry, and he's muted.
Henry is
No,
here.
not anymore.
Hey.
He made it work.
Is this the town link or is this my link?
No, this is
Town.
the
Town
town
link.
link.
Okay.
Henry, we
Henry?
can't use other people's Zoom
Yep.
accounts.
Yeah, no, I was just trying to contact people.
Yeah.
Ah,
Hi, Leslie.
Hi, Leslie.
So we got everybody here.
where is
So,
not? Oh, maybe if I scroll that way.
okay.
Right. Well,
Oh, there she is.
greetings, everybody. Let me just pull up our agenda.
yeah, I never got an agenda. Did it? Was it?
It did circulate, I think.
Mm-hmm.
It's also always posted on the town website on the calendar, and you can always print it from there.
Right. I guess I would have expected it to come in an email.
I'm pretty sure I sent it, but to everybody. But I can send it to you.
When you sent an email, you said, here is an agenda. Does anybody have any additions or changes to it? Is that the one you're talking
That
about?
is probably the agenda.
November 9th.
Okay, so in that case, I would have been anticipating an additional email saying,
I don't think
this
anyone.
is the final agenda. This is the agenda.
Okay. Well,
It's
okay.
November 9th.
I'm happy to do that. I assume people would go to the website for the final one, but
Yeah, I
that's
didn't
fine. I
even
can send it out.
think of that.
So who's got the hosting privilege to be able
I
to?
do.
Oh, you do? Okay.
I'm
Do you have
host.
can you share the agenda then?
Huh.
Or give me that privilege?
Well, I'm actually typing on it for my minutes, so I don't know that I have a copy that isn't all messed up already.
Yeah, you can extend hosting privileges to me.
Yeah, but I'm saying that the only copy I have right now is
Yeah, and then Henry can share it.
I think I've got a copy. I believe is the final one that
Yeah.
popped up there.
let me see if I can give you, okay, I'm making you host. Henry, you can
Yep.
share your screen.
Yep. I think this is it.
Okay.
Very good.
Oh, my.
This will be a little large.
Hmm.
Is this right, Miriam?
Yes.
Miriam, is it changed from the one that you sent out on November 9th?
I do not believe so.
Okay, because I've got that one printed out.
Is there a way to make it a little smaller?
Oh, of course.
It actually,
All of you people are like this little tiny itty bitty faces, and I have this huge agenda that's just curious.
Oh,
that's different from the one that I got off of the
Website?
I think from the town website,
the town. Let me just.
where all the items were numbered, unless that was just the,
That, I didn't add
was-
that numbering. That was Gray Spanish. Add that numbering, sorry.
oh, okay.
Oh,
And the organization, the order is different too.
Well, Henry, do you want to go to that one on your browser?
well, let's see if we can find that then.
And I asked that I would be added to the agenda to talk about my visit to the CPC
Oh,
meeting.
good.
Yeah, we have, that is, well, this
Number
is,
5 on the new agenda.
yeah, this is not the right agenda.
Okay,
what
this is
Henry
the wrong
has,
agenda.
because it is, we do have CPC on it.
Yeah. Let's see.
Maybe should I go to the town website?
I'm taking
then?
care of it, lad. We're on it. We're on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chill. Here we go. I'm just-
Shutesbury.
I think.
I don't even know how to find it on the town.
Go to
Look-
meetings calendar and then you look in the
I've got it
calendar.
right here. I guess you don't speak Scots. What I just said is I've got it. I have it with me here now.
I'm just for my personal edification, I'm trying to find it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So can y'all see
Yes.
that now?
Thank you.
I like how you're mixing these accents, Henry.
Well,
Y'all,
hey, I lived in Texas.
you got it all covered here.
I lived in Texas for about 20 years.
Wow.
And in Texas, you got to speak Texan. Otherwise, forget it. Okay,
Okay, good.
let's do it then. Minutes from October 20th.
Mhm.
Everybody have a chance to look at them?
Mhm. I did.
Miss, may I say something?
Oh, certainly.
I sent an email for correction to Janice.
Yep, I saw it.
Okay, yeah, so will you put that correction in?
Yes, I'm looking for where it is under here, but I know what you're talking about. And I
Okay.
agree that it was a little unclear whether the she referred to you or to your friend.
Yes,
Um,
Rhonda Anderson, we might make it known.
what page was that on?
Page, oh gosh, now I have to look at my minutes, my notes.
Let's see. I'm looking for it.
I think it was where.
Oh, it's on the 3rd page, second
Oh.
paragraph, 3rd page.
There
Okay.
you go.
Did you want me to put her name in or not? I didn't, because I didn't know if you did.
Yeah, I don't think that's a bad idea because, I
Okay.
may want to consult with her and
Okay.
and it may be more helpful, but she sounded pretty flat out. Like I forwarded you the statement. She said the tribes do not want an MOU.
Mhm.
But I
Okay.
thought that's what Doug Harris was coming to Shutesbury in an attempt to, to come into agreement with the town of Shutesbury. So I'm a little
Yeah.
left confused on that part.
Okay, so I'll add her name and then I'll say that Ms. Anderson or whatever said most tribes do not want MOUs. Is that okay?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
you have the statement. I
Yep.
copied and pasted the statement of our conversation
Okay.
to you. Yeah,
Mary Lou, who did you send the statement to?
I sent it to Janice.
Yeah, just for my correcting the
Um,
records.
so that she could correct the minutes so that it doesn't look like I'm saying
Right.
that the tribes don't want an MOU.
And where is she
that-
from? She's with you?
Rhonda, yeah, Rhonda Anderson. Do you know there's the Massachusetts Commission on Indian Affairs?
Yeah.
The initials come out CIA. And and I friended her because she had beautiful earrings on, which I believe are handmade
Huh.
by her daughter, at any rate. And we became friends on Facebook. And so I had that discussion about getting in touch with an official tribal member to consult. Because if we ever put a pamphlet out, I believe, in my humble opinion, that it should come from a Native American. It shouldn't come from a white organization or a white historian. That's what I think. Anyway.
That's very interesting. I kind of like that, but we'll have to see how that plays out.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
can we move along with the minutes?
Yeah.
May I just comment quickly that the minutes for September 10th, I don't think ever got approved. And the reason
Correct.
they never got approved is because the people who attended the meeting are no longer on the committee to approve it. So
Well,
I
last time
would
they
like
weren't
to
there.
propose that we approve the minutes in absentia.
Well, there's a provision for that where it's kind of administratively approved. It doesn't mean it was approved by the commissioners, but it's just kind of left as sort of a draft because it can't have it approved without.
Okay. So we can just forget this one for now. We'll put it up.
Well,
It's
I'd like to do
done.
something with it just to clear my docket here.
Well, I think it still has to be posted. It gets recorded in a different kind of way. Janice,
Yeah.
I have it. I'll see to getting it posted.
Okay, I'm
As
going to
an
give you
administrative approval.
all the other minutes too that I've finished, and I have to finalize a few. So I'd just like to do this one as well, to just, if you
Sure.
you can email me later what I should write on it or something.
Okay.
I think just write unofficial minutes.
Oh, okay.
I'm not
I
positive.
like what John said, the that big word you used,
In
John.
absentia.
In absentia, it's
Yes.
so official,
Yeah, that's right.
What do you think, Miriam? What do you think is the right approach?
I think that's fine. I'll double check with
Okay.
Grace about it, whether or not we can post it online or not, if it's unofficial minutes. And I'll follow up with you later, Janice,
Okay.
about collecting all the
Yep.
past minutes and making sure they get posted. Because I
Yeah.
noticed that we don't have none of the recent ones have been posted online.
No, not for like a year and a half. I've been sending them when I finish them to the town clerk, but I think, with all the stuff going on between pandemic and elections that, they just haven't gotten up on the website, or maybe that's our responsibility. I don't know.
Okay, well, we'll take care of that.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, well, someone want to make a motion to approve the minutes from
A
October?
motion to approve the minutes of October 20th.
And could you state your name? Because I'm not looking, I'm typing.
John Walter.
Thank you.
And who seconds?
Someone second the motion.
I can
second.
add Greg Colton because I'm official. I'm kosher now, so Greg Colton can second.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, so that's done.
No, you have to vote.
Vote aye.
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 Again,
Name.
guys,
John says aye.
I'm not looking, I'm typing, so I don't have an open screen. So if we could do this by roll call, that would be, or if you could just say John Walter says aye, that would be helpful, because I can't sort of do both things.
Well,
John
I
Walter says
can't.
aye.
Okay.
Janice Stone says aye.
Greg Colton says aye.
Although, Greg, you don't really count since you weren't official yet.
Yeah, I am now.
I
Oh,
know,
yeah.
but not for
Oh,
the
but
minutes.
20th.
Yeah.
that's good. Great. Got it.
Mary Lou Conca says aye.
Henry Geddes says aye.
With the revision as discussed about Mary Lou and her friend.
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay, that does that. Let's move on. Reorganization Historical Commission, clarification of roles. I guess this item refers to primarily the how we define. We came up with this idea of vice chair, and it's been interesting. But at the same time, I think that all consultation should go on with the whole commission. And in that sense, it makes sense to have one chair clearly. And as we move forward, there are going to be, there's a possibility I may not be able to make a meeting, in which case somebody would fill in. I'm wondering if that person should have more experience on the commission. It's very likely we'll have business from the planning board in the immediate term. There's nothing, it's not I'm not passing judgment or anything. I'm just stating, the reality of it. That anyway, I don't know. What do you think? What should be the role of we used to have a co-chair. That was the arrangement I had with Miriam at one time. I believe, right? Wasn't that?
Maybe. I don't know. Could have been.
Not quite. No, I
Maybe not.
I don't think so.
But we've never had a vice chair, so I don't know. Whose idea was that?
I think Janice just came up with it, and I said, "Sure, I'll do it."
Yeah. Well,
I mean, Henry, is the issue basically if you're not available for a meeting, who will take charge of the meeting? Is that the basic issue?
Well, that would be one function. Yeah.
Mhm.
Somebody, be in charge and.
Or representing the commission at the planning board meeting or something like that.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But what I'm saying is that somebody who has more experience being on the planning board might be a bit more ideal. It's just
I guess I'm new to this. It's not clear to me why we need a vice chair. I appreciate John wanting to take on a leadership role. I understand that's great that you want to have some input. I'm just not sure what the need with such a small board is.
Yeah, it just came up, and I'm willing to do it. I'm perfectly happy to step in. If Henry's not available, I can run the meeting or, host, or whatever.
Well, we could call it co-chair. I don't know. That was something.
Well, it's not the title.
Well, I guess.
Well, it's already
past,
in the minutes, and isn't it?
In the past, when I was on the commission, I remember we actually, when I think I was facilitating the meetings, but my recollection was we were also taking turns. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a chairperson who chairs a meeting. So I would say if Henry wasn't here, anyone could play that role. But I think in terms of, usually the chair would, we kind of share some of these responsibilities, but usually the chair would work with the secretary around finalizing the agenda and would be the go person if there's ever an issue around town government or legal issues. The chair has the authority to reach out to town council for consultation. So I think that should just be one person. We don't want to have a confusion around that.
Well, I'm sorry, my internet just went off again. I had to reconnect all this. But we just approved the minutes to October 20th, and it says right there, John Walter, Vice Chair. So we would have to unapprove the minutes or change, or, you know.
Well, I think we could change it. I had only included that because I don't know, I was trying to think what positions would we have, like conservation commissions often would have a vice chair or something, which is different from a co-chair. It is more like a fill-in. But I don't know. I'm whichever way you guys want to go, although I think especially in terms of communication with the town hall, it's best to keep that as focused on either one or two people like secretary and chair as possible to avoid confusion or whatever.
But also, I think that any initiatives or decisions that we make, of course, are made within the context of the commission, and we all have, of course, the. I'm just a facilitator, you know. There's no. Well, I just don't think there should be any special another layer of consultation. With let's say a co-chair. I think that consultation should be with the whole commission, and we just decide and make that decision.
I think if we're going to go ahead and have you be, and I think this is incumbent on everybody. I would say this is not just for you, John. I think this is true for all of us, that it's important for all of us to be really clear about open meeting law and how it relates to facilitating a meeting, as well as, you know, kind of the rules of order. There's lots of information available on the the state website about that, but just so that whoever's facilitating kind of has a sense about what that process is supposed to look like.
I think John knows those things.
Good.
I've run meetings before. This isn't my first rodeo, but you know, I mean, I quickly spoke up for the vice chair. I would have done the same for the chair. If nobody else wanted to be chair, I'd be perfectly willing to be the chair. So, you know, I take this very seriously. So I don't see why we should change anything.
Well, the only reason I bring it up is that just a question of experience on the historical commission, so that you know, people have been on it for quite some time,
right?
And you know, are familiar with relations with other commissions, etc. But
well,
yeah,
I'm on the CPC now, and I'm on the historical commission, and I take it very seriously, and I hope to be learning a lot from everyone else.
Yeah.
And as you said, being put in the position of chair is largely a facilitation, okay? And it's not about power or about control or about that. It's about making things run smoothly and getting input and determining what the next steps are and so forth.
Yeah, and you'll have plenty of advice from everyone else.
Absolutely, yeah.
I'm sure.
Okay, so.
But I would ask if it's the right place to do so. We've been getting a lot of email changes, and it would really be nice if I could get a single, like a Word doc that has everybody's name, address, phone number, email address on it, like a little, like we used to do back in the days, so that if I'm contacting people, I know exactly that I'm getting everyone, that I'm not missing anyone. You know what I'm saying? And I have an email list now, but I don't know where people live, if something needs to be mailed out. I don't have phone numbers if people need to be contacted. So is it possible to get that emailed out, a document like that? That's just a list of everybody.
I think that's a great idea, John.
Thanks.
I don't see why it couldn't happen unless people don't want it to.
Okay, why don't I'm going to suggest that if people email me and give me your contact numbers that you want used, if you want to have your address given to other commissioners or not, and then I'll put together a list and circulate it.
Okay, and so will it go out among ourselves or will it be posted somewhere else?
No, it'd only be for use by commissioners. It wouldn't be posted.
Yeah,
Good.
for internal use. Yeah.
And,
Good.
with the understanding that we're not giving consent for it to be widely circulated outside the commission. This is just for internal communications.
Very good.
So everybody just send me that info.
Yeah.
Okay. Is everybody in agreement with that?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Should we vote on that, or is that necessary?
I don't think it needs to. It's not a
Okay.
policy decision.
Well, if
It's really just because I'm so old fashioned. I like to have it in paper, and I know, like, if I need to contact someone, I know how to.
okay, moving right along. Any other roles that we have? Of course, Miriam's role is to. What is your role, Miriam?
Well, I just wanted to clarify so everybody knows what I'm going to be doing and what I think Janice was doing, but maybe some things Janice wasn't doing. So back when I was on the Historical Commission before, I was kind of managing the content on our webpage, which some of it is terribly out of date. There's some dead links. Sadly, links to resources on the federal government's websites are now broken. So that's sad. Hopefully the federal government will, with the new administration, will decide to make those materials available again. But anyway, I'll manage that, and so we can talk in meeting about what content should go up or if there needs to be changes. I'd like to have all of you take a look at that and look at it. Give me feedback, perhaps.
Look at what exactly?
The town's historical commission page. So I will be taking minutes. I'll check and manage the town or the historical commission email account, post meetings, work with Henry to set up the agenda. And I think I'll check the mailbox at the town hall.
Okay, so one thing of what you mentioned is important, that if anyone in the community wants to contact the Historical Commission, they'll email the historical at town hall or whatever.
Yes.
And you're going to get those emails.
Yes.
Okay, so I guess you check it once a week or every other day?
No, I check it almost every day. And what I did in the past, and maybe Janice did the same thing or not, I don't know, is I usually, if anything of any content came, I would just forward it to all the commissioners as an FYI, not for you necessarily to respond, but just so you know that communication came in to the email account.
So what would be content? I don't know what you mean by that. If anything,
Well, there's some spam that we get. I wouldn't send you spam.
Right.
Or if there's something that's just sort of about, really intended for me around managing the Zoom account or posting meetings or things like that, that's not necessary, I don't think, for the commissioners to have. But I would say anything else that relates to commission business, I'd forward to you.
Good.
Okay.
Well,
Moving
thank you
right
for
along.
that. That's a lot. right there.
Mm,
That's a lot.
yes.
And any support you might get, I hope we can give you. I'm not sure how, but if you could come up with some ideas to share some of that work, Miriam.
We'll see how it goes.
Yep.
So Miriam, do you actually have the power to edit the town website?
Yes,
Okay, so you have the keys to the website.
yes.
Okay.
And so what we have on the town website, this was when I was on the commission, like in 2018, I think we did this maybe. We decided we wanted some educational links to general resources and information. And we kind of broke it down by I don't remember how, sort of general historical and then Native American cultural resources is I think how it's broken down. But, I'm open to suggestions and also new content.
Okay.
For example, there's that article I forwarded to everybody about this new research study from Leverett, which I think is just phenomenal. Did everybody see that?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Cool.
I saw that. Yes.
One
Good.
thing I think that Henry had brought up sometime previously that I sort of put a little nudge for that, I guess, in the annual report too, was to update the town history as it appears on at least the
Yeah.
Historical Commission website, to do more pre-colonial, however you guys can figure out how to do that.
Yeah, that's a big job. But yes. And also, isn't there some history that goes into the master plan?
Yes, that's
Some of the other,
yeah.
that's probably better, I think. The master plan stuff.
Well, that's created once every 5 or 10 years.
Yeah.
So the website is going to have more visibility, I think, than that would in more current use.
Okay.
That's right.
So I don't want to be picky about this, but Miriam, when you're sending out that document with everybody's name and stuff, if you could specify a little bit, since you're definitely a to-go-to person, right?
Mm.
We're all going to need to go to you at some point. If you can just iterate those things under your name there.
Sure.
Website manager, email manager,
Okay.
that sort of thing. And you're the agenda person too. So
Sure.
if anyone has anything they want to put on the agenda, to contact you about that.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Anything else on roles?
Well, I would just like to say that I think when people pick up projects that they want to work on, that's going to become their chief role.
Yeah.
Say somebody picks up on, document imaging, right? That's a giant project that's going to be their primary role, and somebody else. It's nice to have team leaders, who can pull in volunteers or organize the rest of us to help. And I think that'll happen naturally as we go along.
Yep.
Okay.
I would say one thing that is I would like to not have on my list of to-dos is that, typically somebody has reached out to Karen to make sure she knows when the meetings are and get information to her. And I don't know if Henry, if you'd be willing to do this. I know Janice, you've been doing that. It's just one more, it's another thing that I would, if somebody else would be willing to do that, it would be great.
Karen, Karen, who doesn't have email.
Yes.
Yeah. Mary Lou, would you be willing to do that?
Where does she live?
Carver Road.
On Carver Road.
Yeah, Karen needs a friend.
Sure.
She's closer to you, John.
Right, I was going to say,
John, do you want to do it?
What would she need?
Well, usually, she needs a call to remind her when the meeting is, right?
Okay.
Right, Janice?
And you need to get her a paper copy of the agenda with the Zoom number, and then any other sorts of background materials that you're going to be discussing, minutes, things like that, the agenda.
So,
Okay, this sounds secretarial to me. But yeah, okay, I suppose I could.
Is
As
that,
I
vice
just
chair.
don't miss anything. What?
This is vice chair. This is what vice chairs do,
Vice
John.
chair work. Yeah, I get it. I mean, I just I don't want to miss anything, so I can make a phone call and I can I suppose I could put a package in the mail to her. I don't know, suppose. If I get the agenda, I mean,
that, I'm sorry, John. I would be it doesn't sound like you're all that excited. I would be willing to do this for Karen. I
okay.
mean, unless, yeah, I'd be willing to do this for Karen.
Okay. I'm just a little nervous about it. I wouldn't want to make any mistakes or anything.
Well, Mary Lou, that'd be great. Would you just hand deliver the stuff? I think that's what Janice has been doing, right?
Yeah, I call her and I tell her that I'm going to, if she's not going to be there, I just leave it in a plastic bag wrapped around her doorknob in the back, or she says you can leave it in her mailbox, but officially that's
Okay.
not legal, so
Right.
you can work something out.
Okay. Now I'm getting ahead of myself. I don't have a printer. Would Grace be able to print it out for me to pick up at town hall? I wonder.
I don't know.
Okay, so how about if we leave it at that? I'll find out from Grace if she can print out the material for me to bring to Karen.
You may have to forward her the minutes, or if there's other stuff to read in advance, other materials.
Right. That'd be fine.
Okay, and Mary Lou, if you want to work with me, I'll help you collect whatever, or I can, we can figure this out and I can send stuff to Grace and then you can pick it up.
Either way.
Good.
Great, thank you. That's gonna be a big help.
thanks, Mary Lou.
You're welcome, Henry.
Okay, moving right along. Number 3, planning board consultation and use of outside consultants. Let's start with planning board consultation. Some of you were at that session. I experienced it as the person who primarily spoke for the commission, and I essentially, try to impress on them that we would be a form of support, collaborative relationship with them. We know from recent experience that they've had developers who wanted to know about issues related to, particularly around the solar projects, the issues around native structures, and didn't know where to refer them to. We can generate some research. We can perhaps even come up with some experts who might have something to say. And I'm hoping that that's the spirit in which they will take it. Obviously, knowing how organizations work, how different boards operate, there's always a certain defensiveness about having to share their sovereignty as a unit. But I have not heard from them.
Wow.
Some questions were asked about how we might support them, and one particular question had to do with and something we would need to discuss, actually. how does the planning board in this case deal with some identified native structure without disavowing its location? And do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that.
They typically, it's part of a public discussion with a developer. And there are issues around disavowing its location.
Henry, one thought I have about that is that, this is all on Cole's land, and it's not going to be open to the public. So, we're not going to be able to maintain, if we share information with the planning board, it will become part of the public record. However, that doesn't mean that the public is going to have access to go on site and do anything, which is one of the main concerns about protecting the privacy of ceremonial stone landscapes, is the concern about just general members of the public going in and messing with them, or pot hunting, or amateur archaeology that might destroy them. That's not going to be really relevant in this case, because all of this stuff is going to be fenced in, like on a solar array.
Well, before the construction begins,
Yeah.
the location of any CSL might become public knowledge. And I wanted to bring this up way down at the bottom here. It says warrant article. We're gonna talk about the warrant article. He lists a lot of very important points in that, but one of which is secrecy. And so you can't have it both ways. I mean, you can't have public recognition of a site and then have it secret at the same time. So we have to tread a fine line here, saying, yeah, we can provide you with a person who can look at that, okay, and but we're not going to go out purposefully looking for them. You know what I'm saying? It's like, if someone's going to do development on a piece of land, and it's required that someone look for these things, then it's going to become public. It's just
Well,
going
why
to be.
wouldn't, if it, with per se, the solar zoning bylaw requires that the applicant, in conjunction with the planning board, evaluate whether or not there are any ceremonial stone landscapes. So essentially they have to go out and look to see if there's anything there, and we're asking to play a role with that. So that seems different to me than a situation with other people's private property where there is no bylaw saying you have to evaluate this. It's only because this is a special permit for a solar project that this even comes into play. It's not mandated anywhere in town bylaws or state law.
Right.
Yes, wait a minute, Miriam, what about the Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 114, Section 7? In that it says no town will allow a Native American burial place to be torn apart. It doesn't say on town land or private land. It simply states it outright. So that I've always, I've found as a source of protection. Because in that law, it's a Massachusetts general law. It does not say private land. It says no town. So that gives the town some kind of jurisdiction over these Native American burial places.
Can you read that again?
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
Well,
it's Chapter 114, Section 7, MGL.
all right.
Yeah.
I think one problem with that, though, is that it may be difficult enough to have people accept that some of the stone groupings are ceremonial stone landscapes for Native Americans, and it's another whole much larger step to say that they're burial sites. That requires a lot more investigation and stuff. So I think that may be the difference, is that known burial sites, identified burial sites, yes, would be protected like any cemetery or whatever, even family cemetery perhaps would. But for those areas that are stone groupings, I'm not sure whether they'd necessarily fall under that MGL or not.
Exactly. But what Miriam started talking about was private land.
Well,
Okay.
I'm really, no, I'm talking specifically about the agenda item we're on right now is the planning board consultation.
Okay.
And John had said, was making reference to a warrant article about, you know, maintaining the confidentiality of sacred sites. And what I'm saying is that
Right.
we don't get a say about that. The planning board and the developer are going to go out and do what they're going to do to get the special permit approved once they haven't even applied yet, but once they submit it, and the planning board will decide whether or not to approve it based on the bylaws. So we're talking about consulting with the planning board, but they're already going to be evaluating those sites for ceremonial stone landscapes, because there's a whole clause in the solar zoning bylaw that mandates that. So
Right.
we've got this one agenda item, and I think we have to kind of talk, Henry, a little bit more about this idea of consultation and maybe the use of outside consultants. That was
I think Mary Lou's intervention is a good one. It gives a broader framework for this, but again, we're looking at very, very specific developments here coming down the pike. It have to do with these special permits, I believe, and that's what we're referring to here. This is going to be an ongoing discussion, mind you. I don't think that we're going to sort this out tonight, but we might talk about outside consultants. The possibility of that, I think, is there. I read, for instance, Lisa McLaughlin's CV, and it's quite impressive. We want to be careful, of course. This is often very, very politically laden. There's lots of politics involved, but it's certainly someone I would respect as a potential consultant.
I had a conversation with Lisa, and I just wanted to kind of loop everybody else into that conversation, if I could, Henry.
Yep.
So I don't know how many of you know Lisa. Does anyone else? Some of you may know her.
I do.
Lisa used to work for Nolambika. She has a PhD in cultural anthropology and has worked with the with Usat tribes, with the United Southern and Eastern tribes, specifically the federal tribes that have a relationship historically and cultural relationship to Western Massachusetts. And so she's worked with the TIPOs very intensively back in, I think, 2000. Leslie, when were the conferences that you participated in? You're on mute. Let's unmute you, Leslie. You there?
I'm trying to remember. I had to unmute myself.
I think it was 2017.
Yeah,
it was when Michael DeCiara was on the select board, if that tones it down any.
Yeah, I think it was 2016, 2017.
Yeah, she's only been active since about 2015.
Lisa?
Yeah.
No, Lisa was active during this Nolambika series that Karen and I went to.
Yeah,
and I think I dropped out of historical commission in 2017. So let's say 2016.
Yeah. So anyway, what I was saying is she worked for Nolambika. She worked with an ad hoc group involving Nolambika and the tribal historic preservation officers from several tribes, and put on a series of conferences and workshops specifically for historical commissions in New England around how to preserve traditional cultural properties. So this is her wheelhouse, and she has a lot of expertise. She's also very connected to many of the important players in this field, including tribal historic preservationists at the tribal level. And she has some Native American ancestry herself. And my understanding is she's well respected. My thought had been that having somebody as a consultant would be very useful if we are going to produce a written report for the planning board, which is what Henry and I had talked with the planning board about, that we would work with the planning board and see what is being proposed and use whatever data we can have available to us to understand what might need to be preserved or protected on those properties, and then sort of evaluate what the planning boards, what the applicants are doing, whether or not we think they're doing their due diligence. And that we would present that in a set of findings, and having someone like Lisa to kind of keep us in the right direction and help us find information when we need it, I think could be really useful. I think it would also add some gravitas to what we're doing.
So Miriam, when you say consultation, are you talking about paying her? Is she a
Absolutely.
paid?
Absolutely. As a hired, I'm talking about hiring her as a consultant, paid consultant, with the so that she could have a quasi formal role in this.
Very good.
We can't, it's not possible for us to go and hire a tribal historic preservation officer.
Oh, it isn't?
Well, which one? And if we hire one, then we're going to have an issue with the others that we didn't hire. So I think what makes more sense to me is hire an anthropologist who really knows her stuff. And, that person can help us have conversations with tribal historic preservation officers if they're willing to talk to us. A lot of them probably are going to say, if you're not hiring us, we don't have time, unfortunately.
Okay, so I have to be excused from this meeting. I don't exactly know how to do this, but I need to be excused. I would like to say
sign off. All right,
thank you.
All right,
Yep.
bye.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Bye.
So
Leslie, Leslie,
Yes.
how are you? I'll just, you know this Lisa?
I do.
Okay.
She's very, very, very nice, very helpful. When we went through the programs that Miriam spoke of, it was a full day Saturdays from probably February through June. Doug Harris was the main presenter. There were other presenters, but Doug classically led the meetings. Lisa was more of the coordinator, but she is, and the question always comes up is only tribal officers can really be authorities to identify things. So it was a conundrum that we never got around. And I think maybe Janice has had more experience more recently, but
Not any
there's
better,
not
though.
enough tribal officers to go around, and only tribal officers can identify what is true.
Well, I think we should have, I think it would be great to invite Lisa to come to one of our meetings so you could all talk to her and ask some of those questions of her. What she and I were talking about is that it is absolutely possible for us to say, here's something that is seems interesting, a rock feature. We don't have the authority to say whether it is a CSL or not, but a knowledgeable person who has worked with tribes and has done CSL surveying, as Lisa has done, could say with some, probability of saying it's worth preserving. And we don't have to have a blessing to preserve something. So, we have to have a blessing to say, we might have to have a blessing from a tribal authority to call it a CSL, but it's absolutely within our power to say, we would like to see this preserved, and would like the planning board to work with the developer to protect and preserve whatever this particular feature is that we're talking about.
Yep.
And, you know, we can figure out what we can call it. We can call it a stone anomaly, a stone structure, whatever we want to call it. And there's a precedent for this because with the Wheelock Tracks solar project, there were some stone features that were preserved, that the applicant was willing to rearrange their siting to avoid.
Yep.
So I think that's what is the hope, is to help the planning board protect the things that need to be, and it may not be Native American stuff. It could be stone walls that look like they're a European colonist or, you know, post colonization. You know, farm stone, you know, cellars and things like that. So,
Well, we need to find somebody, at least one person who we can call on to come and look at something and then write a report. And
well, that's
if it's not Lisa, it could be, I mean, there's the appendix of this warrant article has a list of names. I don't know if you got that far into it, of other typos and so forth. And we just need to find somebody who's willing to do this, you know, and whenever the planning board comes to us, we can say, okay, we'll call our person and it's done. I mean,
yeah, well, it isn't quite that simple, John, because what will happen is most of the TIPOs have already been issued no trespass orders on any Coles owned land. And back in when the Wheelock Tract was getting permitted, the tribal historic preservation officers were not allowed on the properties because of this trespass order that Coles had issued.
I mean, that's pretty simple. If we find somebody that we feel is appropriate for the job, and Coles won't let them on the land, then they obviously won't get their permit.
Well, that's the planning board's responsibility. We don't get to say that.
That's exactly right. It's the planning board's job at that point, you know, and you know, there's a lot that this committee can be doing. And what I find is that almost all of our meetings are taken up with this issue. And I know there's a lot to talk about, and we could talk about it at every single meeting going forward. I think we really just need to figure out, we need to say to ourselves, okay, enough is enough. We have a role. It's a very simple role. It's educational. We don't have a policing function. That belongs to the planning board. The planning board reaches out to us. We can make some phone calls. We can call people in and plug them in to the planning board system. And that's about as far as it goes, really. Unless you want to do educational work for the townspeople, we could send out a flyer or a brochure saying, townspeople, if you're interested in having your land looked at, let us know, and we'd be happy to send some people over there. Aside from that, it's
well, okay. So can we just,
simple.
before we move on to the next item, I guess, can we make a decision about whether we want to go forward and explore having a consultant for this particular activity? And it may be that someone like Lisa could help us with other future projects as well.
Well, could I just ask quickly, since we're talking about hiring someone to do work, what's the budget? How much money do we have? And is this paid for by the planning board, or is it paid for by the applicant?
No, it would not be. And I believe, Leslie or just Janice, do you know how much money we have in our account?
I don't offhand, but it's not all that much. I don't know. I don't have that stuff here. There is, and I can't remember exactly, well, it's something 53G that's used by, I believe, planning boards and also by conservation commissions that allows the governing body to require the applicant to pay for a third-party review. I assume that the planning board has that. I don't think
Yes.
we have that, but I don't know if we might be able to. The act lists specifically which boards can make use of this. And conservation commissions do all the time. And I'm
Yes.
pretty sure planning boards do as well.
Yeah, the planning board will have their own experts. And what they did last time was they hired an archaeological team.
Yeah. But if we offered them someone with a more specific expertise, they might be willing to agree to hire that person.
Yeah, they might.
Yeah.
And that might be, you know, I know back when the whole Wheelock Tract was happening, they were kind of wringing their hands, kind of not knowing who they could use. And
Right.
I think, you know, we're in a different time situation. Lisa at that time was working for Nolan Bika. She no longer is. So that frees her up in a way. She was at all those hearings. So what I'd like to propose is that, you know, when we do some investigation to see what our accounts are, how much we have in our accounts, and, you know, maybe meet with her to see, you know, so people can, you know, get a sense of her and whether she feels like somebody would like to work with.
Well, may I ask, the applicant for the special permit, isn't that person required to pay for an assessment of the land?
That's what I thought.
They are required to do a ceremonial stone landscape assessment.
Okay,
They are.
so we can present a list of people they could hire. They probably will find their own. But what we're talking about is having a contrary view, like an alternative point of view,
Well, I guess I was thinking of more of an independent. I wouldn't use the
an
word
independent
contrary.
review. And because we don't trust them, is that's sort of the key here. So we don't trust
No, I
Cole
wouldn't.
or anyone else to
I
find
would-
things.
John, I wouldn't say that. It's not my
Well, then-
perspective. My perspective is that I don't think the planning board has the expertise to do this without some assistance from us. I think that we can be helpful to them with this process. And I think this would be a very appropriate role for the Historical Commission. If you take a look at the statute that establishes historical commissions, it's absolutely within our wheelhouse to be doing something like this.
I think we should at least have other people have a chance to discuss with Lisa. They'll see that she's very knowledgeable and she's not some kind of I don't know, difficult person or someone who would make trouble or anything like that. I think she would be an excellent, respected resource. And maybe since she has a lot of experience from being on the Historical Commission in Northfield, she might be able to guide us a little bit in how we could work with the planning board, or what maybe she's done in Northfield. I don't know, but you know, there might be some help there just from her experience on the commission, Historical Commission there as well.
Yeah.
I would say that we should actually move to bring her on for a session, even if it's just an exploratory session.
Yeah.
She could give us ideas and you know, we initiate this process of making contact with potential consultant with her, or maybe through her, right? She may suggest someone else, you know. But she seems to be at the very center of this thing. So I guess I could make that motion that we invite her, Lisa, what is her last name again?
Lisa McLaughlin.
McLaughlin. We can invite her for a session. Could be our next meeting.
Okay.
Well, that meeting should be specifically about this issue and no other business should come up. We should just have a meeting relating to that. Right? I mean, it's enough to take up an entire meeting. Perhaps you could invite someone from the planning board to that meeting as well.
Good idea.
Could do.
Yeah, I can reach out to Michael DeCara and see about if he's willing to. Do we want to schedule a separate meeting from our regular monthly cycle for this?
Yes,
Okay. We might have
because
to.
it comes down to, it comes down to, do we have a policing action here? Or is the planning board required to take that application and hand it to us?
Yes.
And then we have to choose, we have to say yes or no, or, one thing or another, and hand it back to them, that we end up with an authority position, because I'm looking at this thing that you sent out, the MGL section 8D, and it talks about how the historical commission shall seek, and will do these things. But we're talking about private land here. So all of a sudden we don't have permission to do that. So, if we're going to have policing action, I think it's important that the planning board specify what they want from us in that regard. And Henry just went to the meeting and talked about how we're just a helpful friend. Okay, so again, we're back into this quagmire. We don't really know what our role is. And I don't think it's appropriate at this time to bring in a consultant until we know what we're asking for. And
I would disagree with your assessment, because we do know what we're asking for. We're going to be asked to review a special permit at some point in the next few months. It could be sooner than later, because unbeknownst to many, these things are timed. Once that application is registered with the planning board by the developer, there's a time limit the planning board has to act on, just as the Conservation Commission has to act on these, whatever application comes in to them. So we're, there is time is an issue here.
okay, so what we want to do is hire this person, and
whoa. We're just going to.
That's where you're coming from, right? You want to hire bring this person on.
I feel like there's a lot. May I make a process comment here? And John, I want to be respectful, but I'm hearing you telling people what they want, what you believe their motivation is. And I think it's leading to some confusion. And
yeah, I'm very confused, because I'm very confused about what our actual role is in this. Is it educational, or is it policing? Now,
No.
Well, I think, could I respond?
May I speak to that, please?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Look, the term policing, I think, is totally out of order here.
Yeah.
We are not.
It's a yes, no. It's a permit. It's a permit. It's a, you have permission or you don't have permission to bulldoze this pile of rocks.
Listen,
that's a policing action in my point of view. So
no, we don't have that kind of power. We can advise them. That's about it. There's nothing written down that says that we absolutely can. In fact, I am actually unclear on that.
Well, this piece of paper that Miriam sent out, this Mass GL, says very clearly that we do have that power. We have the power to preserve and protect.
We do.
We do not have, John, let's just be clear. We do not have the independent power on the Historical Commission to tell people what they can or cannot do on private land. We have the authority to consult, to share expertise, to educate the public and town government and applicants about historical issues. The issue around a decision around how a special permit will be conditioned and what provisions the planning board will decide ultimately sits with the planning board. However, they need guidance. And they would be the first to acknowledge that. And they were very clear that they needed guidance when they were permitting the Wheelock tract. And now we have 5 more even larger projects coming down the pike for a total of about 170,000 acres, which
Wow.
is a huge part of Shutesbury. And private property, yes, but it all falls under a bylaw that the town passed, which says that the applicant must take into account historic preservation. So now we have an opportunity to kind of use our role, I think, in a constructive way. And I don't see this as policing. I see this as helping everybody come to the best outcome possible from a preservation perspective. It doesn't mean that everything is going to be preserved or anything is going to be preserved. I don't know. I don't have that. I don't even know if there's anything that needs to be preserved where they want to tear up the trees and plow things. So it's premature. But I do know that it's way too complex for the planning board to handle on its own. And I think it's really important for a historical, cultural perspective to be included so that it's not simply archaeologists, because the archaeologists will be the first to say that this isn't really their wheelhouse. They dig in the ground. They don't look at stones on top of the ground.
Right. So it's educational. It's basically educational.
Right.
Consultative.
Consultative.
Consultative,
Right.
yeah.
Collaborative.
Let me give you a sense anecdotally how this went down about 3 or 4 years ago. The planning board was totally thrown off center because they were looking for an archaeologist, and there was quite publicly, I had no function in any town commission whatsoever. And I suggested an archaeologist, and that archaeologist turned out to be their consultant because they had no idea. And it just so happens that I know pretty much every archaeologist and anthropologist at UMass. Okay. So they've come a long ways. They're learning about this. They've been learning, and now they see they have to deal with this. It's in our bylaw. So that's where we would come in, I suppose, and we could call it education, we could call it consultation. That's pretty much our role. We
Okay, so this person that you picked out who worked in Northfield, as opposed to any of the names that are on this warrant petition.
That's all out of date now, John. It's a couple of years ago, and there's been a lot of things happening with the typos and all. And even back in March, when I was trying to come up with the addresses and names of the people to send letters to asking if they would help, those, even at that point, they were off. And that Warren article was older than that. So it's a start, but it's very confusing. There are a lot of things changing with the typos right now, and it's very hard to know who to contact.
Yeah,
So
that's
this
where
woman, I forget her name now. You think she would have contact with the typos?
who?
Lisa.
Yes,
This woman you're talking about from Northfield.
She worked very and continues to have a very close relationship with Doug Harris, who's no longer a TIPO. She has relationships with other TIPOs. I have to look at my notes. She gave me a couple of names of a couple of people that might be resources, but the TIPOs are financially strapped and underfunded. And the way that they kind of leverage their power and authority is usually through a federal undertaking process that requires a Section 106 consultation, which means they get paid. And there's no federal hook involved with the solar project permitting that would enable that to happen.
We were just talking about paying Lisa.
From the commissions.
Well, let me qualify it. because of the way that the federal laws are written, all of the TIPOs are invited to consult, and they can all consult. We don't have the capacity to hire all of the region's tribal historic preservation officers to consult with us. We can't do that. In a federal undertaking, it's a whole different process who pays for all of this.
Okay.
Because basically you've got large federal agencies that pay for it. So that's why having somebody who isn't a TIPO, but is very aware and very sort of dialed into what's going on in the preservationist world and tribal historic preservation efforts, I think could be really helpful, and an anthropologist.
Yeah. And in addition to that, I think the one person that I got to know and I've seen at work on many occasions, educating people. I don't know if you've ever, you guys have seen Doug Harris's presentations.
Oh yeah, I've seen Doug Harris.
Yeah. Well, he's been ill and he's out of circulation. He was the person who really was the point person to bring this to the attention of the greater public. You know, he's in the film Great Falls, etc. I mean, the guy, Lisa McLaughlin, has worked with this man, and
And she worked with everybody at Nolambika.
Yes, yes.
Great.
Yeah. And anyway. So
okay, so just to close the circle, so we can move on to the next item, because I know we have a lot to talk about. I'll need to check with Lisa to find out when she might be available, and then I will poll everybody by email to see if we can all agree on a date. Okay.
Yep.
Yep, Tuesdays are good.
Any
Okay.
objections?
We didn't
Somebody wanna
actually talk about how she would get paid.
Would this first meeting with her be a paid consultant meeting, or would it be?
No, I don't think so.
It would be.
She actually has been to one of our meetings. I remember, I don't know if Janice, you remember this, and Henry, but when I was on the historical commission, Lisa came and talked to us.
So we're not at the point yet where we're going to decide to pay anybody.
No.
Well,
We're
yeah.
going to have a meeting with Lisa to assess how she could help us.
Yes.
Yeah, and maybe
Indeed.
provide us some guidance on how to sort of take the appropriate path through this, trying to be careful not to step on toes along the way, but to find, you know, what is the role of the historical commission in relation to other boards like planning board in town. And maybe she's done some of that in Northfield and can provide us some help with that too, I'm hoping.
Yeah. No, I think she could.
So Miriam, did you want to do that, or Janice? I don't know who wants.
I'll do it
Miriam.
because I've been in contact with her. And then I will email you guys with some suggestions of times or dates when she is available.
Okay.
All right. Moving right along then.
Yeah.
Update on painting War Memorial.
Okay, this will be short. I've been trying to keep in touch with the painter, and he's very difficult to reach. He does not respond to phone calls, emails, and I told him he could text me, and he hasn't done that. But he did email me back one time saying, yes, I will get it done this year. And he said that his paint is good down to, I don't know what it is, maybe it's 40 degrees or something like that. So I still keep either leaving phone messages or emails, maybe at least once a week. I was hoping it was going to happen last week. I haven't seen it. I don't know if it's going to happen. He's the only one that agreed to do it anyway, and he is highly recommended. But maybe
Who is
this is Steve Shumway. And so so anyway, so I'm sort of at his mercy. I don't know what else I can do. And he said he would do it. So I'm just sort of keeping my fingers crossed and hoping that he can. We did finish up the other project for the veterans gravestones, and I'm sort of just calculating volunteer hours, and we're going to get a final summary report from the person who was hired to do that work tomorrow. And so that part's going okay. So if it can't get done, it can't get done. And, you know, we just give the money back for that part of the project, I guess.
Okay.
What's the time frame for completing the project in terms of the grant money?
I think it's the end of this year.
Of
I was going to
2020?
Yeah, so I was going to get back in touch with the people, the Shred people, and ask them if there've been any extensions because of the whole pandemic, which definitely made communication to town hall, out of town hall, and through all the communications and bidding process and everything, just a lot more difficult. So I'm gonna see if I can find out more.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it seems like in this day and age, there's so many things that are going slower than expected.
Yeah, so I'll get in touch with them, my contact, and see if we find out more. And maybe they'll let us extend till spring or something, you know.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
CPC, who's speaking to that?
Okay, well, I went to the CPC meeting. I'm a member of the CPC now, which is primarily a grant distribution organization committee. Is everyone familiar with it?
Yep.
Okay, so really quickly, there's tons, and I mean tons of money available, okay, for any kind of project that we might want to do. I'm sorry Mary Lou's not with us because she was interested in doing signs, okay, and according to the CPC guidelines for historic work, we can use money for acquiring things. We can buy things like buying, for example, the old house there next to the fire station. What's it called? The parsonage. We can spend money to preserve things and rehabilitate or restore. Okay, but we can't use money to create anything. It doesn't qualify under historic usage.
John, can we use it for a consultant?
Well, it says to rehabilitate and or restore. It doesn't, it says no under support. I really think we'd have to ask the CPA. I can call them, I can call Alan, I think it is,
Alan Hansen.
talk to him.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering if we were framing it that we need a consultant to advise us on traditional cultural properties and ceremonial stone landscapes, and not just for the solar project, but for the town as
Yeah.
well, and helping us perhaps in developing educational materials for the town and research for the town. Would that fall? I think it would fall under the CPA.
Well,
CPC.
the CPA works best as a project. Okay, so they have like a once in a lifetime funding, right? You have one funding cycle in a year and it ends up getting voted on by the town meeting. So in December, they look at applications, and then by January, they've refined all the applications, and then by town meeting, it gets voted on.
Mm-hmm.
So for example, restoring all of the historic stone walls on town property, or, you know, like around the fire station, you know how in the back behind the fire station, there's this beautiful field and there's a stone wall, but the stone wall is covered in brush and trees and bushes and so forth. So, you know, it says here, preserve and protect historical and scenic resources, one of which is landscapes, archaeological sites, objects.
Well, what if we were to develop a proposal for 1 year, that we would hire a consultant that would help us with developing educational materials, perhaps developing an archaeological policy for the town, perhaps help us develop materials to pursue a scenic roads byway or some other strategies for protecting stone landscapes. I mean, we could make it broad, so it wasn't just about Native American
Well,
ceremonial stones.
it would have to fit under the concept of preserving.
Well,
So we
helping
can
us
do,
develop policies for preservation and educational materials.
we can do education as long as it's educating people about restoring and preserving things.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is hiring a consultant to help us develop those materials.
Absolutely. I think we could do that. Yeah, I think we could
So
do
I
that.
believe we have to get a short application in by December 8th is the deadline.
Yeah, it's quick. It's like early December.
So,
Just hold on, I'll get to that.
okay.
The other thing is, we can put in for money to do all of this document imaging. Okay, like historic document preservation that's in the town hall. We want to get it all imaged and put on an image server so people can research it. That we can do a CPA grant for that. We could even put in to buy equipment, buy a server, buy an imager, buy, you know, whatever we wanted.
Yeah, we had talked about this back when I was on the commission.
Yeah.
We're still
Right.
there.
So Miriam, can you try to find that information that Kristen gave us on what's required in order to sort of set up a system for before you can do your scanning and digitizing? You remember that there had to be sort of a structure. You had to have a
For
way of,
indexing. You had to have as indexing.
yes, an indexing sort of thing.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
we need to hire a preservationist, an archivist to do the indexing, and then there
Yes.
was a platform which you had to probably purchase, a digital platform. I can look. I'm probably sure I have it.
It's very complicated. I've been in technology, and putting together an archive system is really about design. You need to design the system technologically to make it sound. You have to have backups, you have to have servers, and primarily we're talking about an imaging server. I think we need a consultant to help us with the whole project, because you can't just go in and start imaging things, because they have to go on a server. You have to know how to retrieve them.
Right.
And so what you need is a whole scope. You need to
I think it's a great
brass tacks.
I think it's a great idea, John. I mean, we had talked about it when Kristen was on the board and she was a professional archivist. I think it would be great to look for possibly some other funding streams, or to put together a proposal for next year's, because we're not going to be able to put together a proposal with that level of complexity in the next month. But I think it's really important and worthy.
Well, hold on.
I'd like to see us do it.
By December, we only need to have a proposal that meets general criteria. And once that's set, then it goes towards a further application, which gets reviewed in January. So the general criteria helps to preserve, town-owned assets. It can involve acquisition of threatened resources. It does require that there's other sources of funding, and it promotes the use of local contractors, and there's community support for it. So those are just general criteria that we can throw together an application in no time. But then the specific criteria come up later. That's a little bit more in detail. The application itself gets more in detail.
Hand raised here. We have a hand raised by Leslie. Is that a hand raised?
Yes, I do.
Hi, Leslie.
Hi.
Go ahead.
Having been town clerk for all those years, I'm wondering what you folks are talking about digitizing, because the town clerk is the keeper of all like minutes and that sort of thing. And what I'm not sure, the old, the old town meeting minute books, the old tax records, that sort of thing. The Historical Commission has lots of non-municipal documents that people have provided over the years, but I think Kristen never really got into the closet to decide, oh, we've got a lot of stuff that could be digitized. I'm not sure what what you're wanting to digitize, so I would put it off for a year.
Yeah, I don't know
Just
either.
on the basis.
I only heard that this project was underway and I don't know anything about it.
Okay.
I've been to
Well,
the Old Town
there
Hall.
was I had asked that a couple of the old videos that I took of Mrs. Bennett get digitized for a specific person who was a family member, Bennett family member, who had called a year or two ago and asked for information. And that's why I came to that meeting. And in the end, I did not get town reimbursement. You guys supported it, but I paid for it myself. But
Screwed up the pandemic.
and then Craig, he sent you that email. He has digitized in some format most of the oral histories, more oral interviews. I personally couldn't follow his explanation. I just took all the materials and put them back in the closet, and I was hoping that maybe someone like Greg or somebody who really has a better understanding could see that. But generally, I'm not sure there's that much in our storage closet that there's some stuff, but it's kind of random how I think like I like that idea of someone creating an index, and it's not going to be me.
No.
So so can we let's try to make some decisions. I'm just looking
Well,
at
one more thing. The other thing that CPC would be great for would be the signs that Mary Lou was talking about, right? All the road signs. That would be a perfect application for a CPC grant. So, this is just what I learned.
And you need, John, do you have to have matching funds from another source? It doesn't, it's not.
It does say that you need to have, it does ask for that there's funding from other sources, but I don't know if you get the Amherst paper. Amherst has put together $2.4 million worth of CPC grants for the next year. And according to the CPC, I forget who's on the committee, we have $350,000 sitting there waiting to be spent and nobody's applying for it. And I'm like, let's get some money. Maybe I can think of three things just off the top of my head. One is the signs, one is the archiving, okay, and the third one is I forget, what was it? We were just
talking about a Native American or a ceremonial stone landscape.
Or getting a consultant, getting a consultant for educational purposes.
Yeah. So I think the archiving, we just decided, I think maybe let's just go through those and make some decisions about which ones we might want to pursue, just so we can get an action plan.
Well, the other thing is, I don't think we need to do this in the committee. This needs to go out into like a subcommittee. I'd be perfectly happy to meet with people and separately and talk about the application process and get people like a work party, okay? Get people busy putting this stuff together. And then we can get those first applications out. A lot of them could be exploratory, money for exploring these things.
We can't send out the applications without looking at the final documents in an open meeting.
Well, of course not.
So that would mean that if the deadline is
meeting, they have to be written, by the people who are interested, so
right.
If Greg and I want to do an archive one, we get together and we put together an archive one.
Okay.
You know,
So why don't we figure that out? So what we would need to do is figure out who wants to work on what, and then we would need to come together before the deadline just to review the applications.
What is
Right.
the deadline, by the way?
Oh, good question.
What, Henry? What was the
December
question?
8th?
Deadline. What is the deadline?
I thought it was
No,
maybe
that's not
December
in
4th.
this. I don't remember. It's,
I vaguely remember it was December 4th.
That's what
Eight.
I thought too.
Oh, I thought someone said 8.
That's like less than 2 weeks away.
Mhm.
So keep it
yeah, but
simple.
the
That's my
applications are really
advice. Keep it
you know.
simple.
You want to put this off till next year because we're a new committee, you know, it gives us plenty of time to like explore these ideas. That's fine. I don't care.
No. I'm just saying, how much can we do in the next 2 weeks? I'm really critical of how they've done this. I think they announced it very a short while ago,
They
Yeah.
always do,
and suddenly the due date is right away.
because they assume everybody already knows. The people who need to know would already know.
Yeah, that was my criticism on the committee was what research, what outreach are you doing?
None.
Have you called the heads of the committees? Have you talked to people, you know, interested parties? And they're like, no. So, you know, they're all the money people who they're the adults in the room, you know, and we have to go to them for it. But
Let's
so,
follow.
Greg,
I'd like to suggest that we do need a detailed scope of the archiving plan, and you know, we've started some with Leslie and Craig, some recordings. But as Leslie said, we don't really know exactly what it is we want to preserve just yet. So it sounds to me like this December might be a bit too soon. That in fact, sort of, it'd be, if I was involved, I'd like to really understand what it is we're trying to
Yeah.
scan, record, preserve. And I
Mhm.
don't think we haven't got that yet. As much as, I mean, maybe, John, we can get an application into the CPC preliminary application. I guess it wouldn't do any harm to do that. But I don't think we as a commission yet, or at least I don't, understand the scope of the project.
I think it's going to take a lot more thinking because we tried to do that a year or so ago, and it was even so big it was hard to get our hands around, our minds
Yeah.
around
Right.
at that point. But something like if I mean, Mary Lou had that idea about the signs. That's a pretty easy, straightforward one. If she wants to write that up, she needs to get some information on cost and stuff like that. But that's a simple visual, you know, not that difficult to get done project that would be a good way to just sort of test the waters or get us into, you know, figuring out what's needed for these grants. If there's
I'd
going
like-
to be a simple one. Yeah.
I'd like to make, I guess I'm going to frame this as a motion. So what I would like to propose is that we postpone making a decision for this funding cycle
Yeah.
for a digital archiving project and put in place some planning and research so we can get our ducks in the row for the next cycle.
Yeah.
For that. For signs that maybe one of us reach out to Mary Lou, maybe, I don't know, Janice, would you be willing to work with Mary Lou around that a little bit?
I guess so. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. And then I'd like to propose that we put together a proposal for a consultant. I will be happy to take a stab at it. Henry, would you be willing to work with me on that?
Sure. I can start working on it within a week. If it's more than 2 weeks. It's like 2 weeks and maybe 6 days. So we have approximately 3 weeks to do that.
Okay. Well, I can start
So-
before then, and then you're gone. Are you gone or you're out of?
No. I'm very busy this week. So
Okay.
okay, so,
So what's the consultant for?
Well, I think that I got to think it through a little bit, but my thought is that the consultant would be maybe three-pronged as I'm saying this. One is to help us with policies and procedures around ceremonial stone landscape preservation, general policies.
Okay.
Right.
The
Right.
second would be helping us with educational materials for the town, for the public.
Mhm.
And the third would be assisting us in evaluating any special permit applications that come up in this year, within this calendar year, or that fiscal year, because it gets funded fiscal year
yeah.
to fiscal. So that would be the way it works with these special permits. That probably would work. But in the meantime, she could be helping us with other things.
Okay, can I just mention the determination of eligibility? Okay, it's what you have to fill out by December 4th. It's Appendix B on the plan. So if you go to the website, town website, and look for the Community Preservation Committee, because there's two different committees that are CPC.
Yeah.
You just click and on the PDF for the plan, and the plan has all these appendixes. The plan's huge, but it's good reading, will put you right to sleep. So Appendix B it's just 2 pages, determination of eligibility. All right,
Okay.
That's all you need to do for December 4th. And it basically states, briefly describe your expected results and describe how your project will meet the eligibility criteria. And the eligibility criteria are up on page 4. Are we acquiring, preserving, or
Right.
rehabilitating or restoring? Okay,
Right.
so you would work that into like a preservation model.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. I think we could do it.
No big deal. And then
And I
maybe
don't think we have to in this have a decision about who we would hire. I think that we can leave that up. I have a question. We're talking about matching funds, Leslie. The Friends of the Historical Commission has some funds available, don't they?
Joan Hanson is the president of the Friends of the Historical Commission, and there are some funds that are available. I won't say what they're available for. I can't speak to that, but you can contact Joan for information on that.
Okay.
That's Alan Hanson's wife.
Yeah.
John, just so you know.
okay. How many friends are there?
Not very many at this point. The previous historical commission were strong supporters of it, and combination of people moving away and backing down.
Okay.
I'm a lifetime member. There's a few other lifetime members. And with COVID, there has been no fundraising in the past year. We've had our annual meeting. We could always meet again if a question for money comes up. The larger source of money that you have immediate access to is within all the funds that we raised as a commission in various ways, such as our open houses. And whenever when people would give me money, when outside people would ask inquiries and I'd research them, they'd insist on paying me. I tell them I can't accept money. So I would give that all to the commission.
Friends.
I remember back
there's-
when I was on the commission last time that it was a few $1,000s. I think it was more than
That's about to-
5,000.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's maybe even up to 10 or 12.
So there's your matching funds.
I mean, I would say, if we didn't get this and we wanted to hire a consultant, I can't imagine a consultant would cost us more than $2,000. And that's I'm just pulling that out of my thin air. So we do have funds available that we have the authority to make decisions about.
Yeah, and I when I was on the commission and town clerk, blah, 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 we used CPC funds to do the sills of the West Schoolhouse. We used them to renovate rehab the Hearst House. They were getting pretty tired of us at that time saying the Historical Commission is hogging all this money, because that $350,000 is supposed to be split amongst the different, the different categories. There's 4 categories of use of the funds.
Okay.
I think subsequently recreation and has used some, and we know that the Habitat for Humanity used 32,000. So maybe they've gotten away from the idea that Historical Commission overused funds by now. I don't know.
All right, well, shall we move
Okay.
on? It's going on 9 o'clock, folks.
Okay.
Is that all?
9
So
o'clock.
can we, guys, I know that if we're going to do an application, we need to kind of have the commission approve it. Is it possible for us to have a brief meeting just to go over the applications before December 4th?
Absolutely.
Yes,
It doesn't have to be like hours and hours, just
Mhm.
like I would imagine a half
One
an
item.
hour would be
Right.
enough.
I mean, we're only talking about this one for the CSLs, right?
Yes.
Or maybe the sign one too.
Right, if she can pull it together.
Mhm.
And then Greg, maybe you and I and Leslie or the current clerk can actually physically meet and look at what might need to be archived
Mhm.
in the old town hall. Does that sound right, Leslie?
I mean,
Well,
digitized?
I'm saying that the town clerk has the majority of those records and you would work with her.
Okay,
What I'm more than glad to show you what has been collected over the, well, since 1977, 76, 75, somewhere when the commission started. And it's what you guys think. There's photographs for sure.
well, I
There's
think you should
there's a
be-
lot of old maps with the originals being down in Boston that, might be nice to be able to pull that together. The library did a project with a local surveyor once, so that's maps are somewhat taken care of. I don't know. You'd have to decide for yourselves.
Well, I think, Leslie, it would be great if you could meet with us in order to just sort of hand it off. Give us whatever you know, and then we'll
Right.
take it from there, you know?
As I did with Kristen. Yes.
Well,
And
Kristen's
we
not
could
here
also-
anymore.
We should develop an overall plan for the Shutesbury Historical Archive.
Yes.
Very
Everything.
good. Very good. Yeah, we need that.
Yeah.
Okay, so Greg, I'll contact you.
Good,
Okay.
John.
So I'm wondering if we could plan on having a short meeting on Tuesday, December 1st, to go over and finalize, vote on any proposals that we have available.
Good.
that's
Okay.
fine.
And Miriam, you
Wait,
could just contact the accountant to get the amount in the, that account, that thousands of dollars historical funds.
I will do that. So I'm making a motion that we, while I'm at it, maybe we'll set up both the meetings. I want to make a motion that we have a meeting on December 1st at 7 PM. What you guys like?
Yeah,
Okay, and one on December 15th for our regular meeting at 7 PM.
Am I seeing you typing that on the screen?
yeah,
Is that
What
you,
happened?
Henry?
that's me.
Oh, Henry's
Ah.
doing it.
December 15th is our regular meeting?
Yeah.
I'm proposing it.
That works for me.
Yep.
Okay.
These are at 7.
Mhm.
And do you want me to see if Lisa McLaughlin can come to the 15th meeting, or do you want to have another meeting with her?
Probably a separate meeting.
I think a meeting just about CSLs might be a good idea. I don't know.
Okay.
We're running out of meeting time,
Well, I'm
so-
just thinking that if we need to meet with her because there's going to be a January deadline for the final proposal,
Right.
that I can have an informal conversation with her and then, put that into the application, but
Why don't we
need to-
just dedicate the 15th meeting primarily to that?
all right, great. I will see if she's available. Hopefully she will. If she's not available, I'll get back to you guys and see if there's another date that will work for everybody.
Yeah. And if there's time, we can talk about other things, I
Okay,
guess.
so that's a motion. We should vote on the motion.
I'll second it.
All going down the roll. Henry Geddes, yes.
Yes, John Walter,
Greg Colton, yes.
Janice Stone, yes.
And Miriam Devon. Great, thank you.
Right. Old business. We've talked about document archiving. We've talked about application to CPC. Annual report for Historical Commission.
You guys get a chance to look that over?
I printed it
No,
out.
I must admit, not.
I read it.
Henry.
I read it. I printed it and read it. Where is this underground stone chamber that Craig Pepin is sitting in?
We had a field trip last year, went to that.
Is that in
Looks like the
Shutesbury?
one at Temenos.
Yes, it's the Temenos one.
Oh,
I was actually there, so I remember.
And I think that's schoolhouse number 2, not number 3, Janice,
Oh.
if they happen to use that one.
Oh, great. Thank you. Sorry. Schoolhouse number 2.
Yeah, I
okay.
think the sign right above it says it.
Okay.
It does.
That's smart. Thank you.
Now, do we need to decide anything?
You
about-
happy with this? Is there anything that you want me to delete or add? So I can get it turned in.
I will send my comments in an email.
Okay. All right.
it's fine with me. I wasn't here, so.
Yeah.
Janice, wasn't
likewise.
I on the commission for part of that fiscal year? I thought I resigned in August.
No, June.
Oh, okay.
Right after we did elections, and then so in July we're out, and then
Right,
we started filling.
right.
So generally okay. I'll get whatever edits that Henry wants to add.
I thought you did a good job.
Oh, thank you. I didn't know if I was saying too much with that part about the things that might be, things that we might be looking at, like talking about town meeting and the street bylaw, scenic byway. Do you want me to say anything that's specific, or is it better to leave that for later? I didn't want to like play our cards if you feel like there might be opposition that would start rising up or something on any of those things.
No opposition, apparently.
All right, good.
So I'll make a motion that we approve it.
Seconded.
Yeah, I actually did look at it. I
Yeah.
did see it because I remember the photograph.
Yes.
I remember the photograph of a. Okay.
Anyway, I did ask Craig too. I emailed him and asked him if it was all right if I could use his photo or not, and he said yes. So I didn't want to do it without him. So are you okay then with it, Henry? As far
I'm
as you
fine
know?
with it. Yes, I'm fine with it.
Okay. Did you second it then? Is that what you did?
Who
I
who's
second.
second?
I did. Greg Colton.
Okay, Greg. Okay, thanks.
Okay, you want to vote?
I, John
Aye.
Walter,
I, Henry Geddes.
I, Greg Colton.
I, Janice Stone.
I'm Miriam. Great.
So I'll get that straightened out, do it, not draft and all that sort of stuff.
I
Okay.
have a question. There was a bylaw somebody was mentioning from Rolf with,
It was the town meeting warrant article
oh, the
that he
warrant
submitted a couple
article.
years ago, which
Okay.
Yeah, that's
looking at
next
it
on the agenda.
now, yeah, I feel much better about, but he didn't give it proper preparation and public notification and discussion.
Does somebody have a copy of it they could send me?
I have it from Jim. I can send it on to you. Yeah,
Could you send it?
sure.
Did I see it too?
And it has,
Yeah.
it
Oh,
has,
yeah, sorry.
that has references or,
I'll send it to everybody again. Yes, he put a whole lot of references at the end, which I thought, might be of some use to us as well as just whatever we may want to take from it and, maybe reshape it a little bit, but at least have it as a possible starting point if we wanted something more than just like the scenic road bylaw.
And
I'll send it to everybody.
are there models of scenic roads bylaws that we've looked at?
Yes, I had given some out back in, well, I guess it was our last real meeting. So no, it wasn't March though. It was later than that. It was July or August when we met. There are lots of hodgepodge things, and there's a sort of general template, and then there's each town has to decide which specific streets or all the streets fall under the scenic bylaw or not. And there are some other little things that can vary. And
Could you send that to me?
at least some of it, yeah. Some of it I didn't have in digital form. I just made copies of
Oh,
things, but
okay.
I'll send you what I can, at least of the
Yeah,
digital
that'd be
stuff.
great.
Okay.
Because we're kind of, it's new commission, really.
Yeah, that's true.
So Janice, are you leaving us?
Well, what I wanted to do is I meant to get to you before the meeting, but maybe it'd be better for one of you guys to check with John Warwick, find out if he'd like to be a commission member. If he does, I will step down and maybe for a while be an associate if you're comfortable with that. So, find out if you know someone else who's interested and willing to come on. I'll be happy to step down as soon as you've got a person willing to step up.
So did
Okay.
John Warwick decide not to join, or what happened with him?
He had told me he was happy staying an associate, and I said, well, once we get the first round of 3 new people on and I'll be going off, then you can come on. And he said, oh, he just sort of, he seemed like he was happy either way. So I don't know where it stands right now. So I was glad to see that he has a town email he developed. So I think that's a good sign that he's interested.
Okay.
And Henry, maybe you could give him a call.
Or Miriam, do you know him a bit or not?
I don't. I know his mother-in-law.
Oh.
I don't know him, but I know his mother-in-law.
Well, one of you, whatever. Find
Henry-
out what he wants to do.
Henry, do you want to reach
Yeah.
out to him as the chair?
Yeah, what's his last name again? I'm sorry.
Warwick.
Warwick.
I think he's on the email list that I had sent,
Yes.
but then Miriam had an update on that in terms of a town email address to use.
Yeah, he has a town email address too. I think he emailed all of us it.
Okay.
Well, we'd certainly like to keep you on, Janice. There's no rush.
Oh, it's up to you, but I'm happy to make way for, fresh blood or whatever.
Anyway. So the warrant article, we're going to get a copy of that.
Yep.
Well, I was prepared to talk about that, but since people haven't read it, we can just put that off.
Yeah, and that'll be more intensive.
Let's hold off on it.
And what's important is the amended one, right? Janice, not
Yes.
the original one, but
Yeah,
the
I think
amended one.
that was an improvement.
And what is do you have the amended one?
Yes.
Okay, if you could send that.
Yep.
A lot of what he talks about, we've already kind of agreed is true and important. There are a few points which, are hard to understand how it can work. Like he's talking about doing all this work to preserve these sites. But then he's also asking us to keep them secret. So it's difficult to know where to take this. It's written up as a petition to town government, to town meeting, but really we can just adopt it, adopt a lot of these principles ourselves as just part of our working model,
Yeah.
but you'll read about it, and he basically has this whole list of do this, do that, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
be this way and be that way. And so we can talk about it.
And I
Maybe
just
on
want to I just want to throw in that it's not unusual for Rolf to make recommendations that are actually hard for people to act on.
Well, we could talk about it at the 15th meeting, or not. Why don't you guys read about it? Put it on the agenda for the 15th, and if we don't want to talk about it, then we don't have to. But it could come up as part of our discussion, relating to Lisa. Is it Lisa?
Mhm.
With Lisa. Maybe she wants to get a copy of it too.
To talk of the bylaw. The
Yeah,
warrant. It
but,
wasn't a bylaw. It's
Yeah,
a-
right.
It's not a bylaw. It's
Yeah.
it's just a petition of
The warrant article.
understanding, or
Yeah, it's
And what the
non-binding.
historical commission should do. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was non-binding.
Mhm.
right. But a lot of the things he raises are things we've been talking about all along. Things we want to do because we want to do them. Education, private landowners, purchasing land, having an archaeologist, having a TIPO, getting funds, that sort of thing. So
Janice, I think this is one for you, isn't it? Scenic roads bylaw?
Well, that's yeah, it's on there, and that's the stuff I had presented a bunch of stuff in the summer, a bunch of examples of different towns that had some interesting ideas and basics on that. So I will put together a packet to scan and send to you folks, so you can look that over and then explore on your own as well, ideas and all on
And
that.
is the scenic roads bylaw incorporated into the zoning? Is it a zoning bylaw?
I don't think it's zoning, but it's usually planning board. That's what it seemed like. It's generally a planning board bylaw. So I didn't know if
So
historical
it is
had to
zoning.
do it through planning or not.
So
Well,
that's a whole process because it has to go through a public hearing.
Yeah, a
So we
bylaw.
would need to meet,
Yeah.
get the planning board. To be honestly, I feel like the planning board is probably going to say,
Not now.
not now. We
Yeah.
are overloaded with
Yeah.
all of these special permit applications.
Yeah, and Don Wakaluk had just happened to come to that meeting that I wanted to talk about the scenic byway and bylaw, and he wanted to do the same to save the trees, because he was having all these, as tree warden, he was having to approve all these historic trees being cut down, either because of the solar or because of the broadband or because of the storm damage and stuff, and that he had no way to oppose that. So that was the other piece of it. It wasn't just stone walls and whatever else we might be able to add to it, but also trees are the usual thing that people protect along the scenic byways.
Interesting.
yeah, historic trees.
Very. All right, we're almost done. Unanticipated business. I don't think there's anything unanticipated about tonight. We couldn't log on.
I would just say there was one thing, that CPC application for the guide board. I don't think it would be that much money, but I don't have time to try to find out now or deal with it. And I think we have enough funds in our own funds to do it. It's probably like $1,000.
Okay.
So having learned my lesson about small grants and how much paperwork it still takes with the SHRAB, I wouldn't recommend doing it unless we really, really needed to. I mean, in terms of the permit, the application for funding, that if we can just do it ourselves,
Well,
that would be a lot easier.
it might be something that we could approach the Friends of the Historical Commission also, because
Yeah.
that's a very discreet
Mhm.
project that, you know,
Yeah.
they'd be interested in.
Yep. I think it was about $1,000 or a little less that Montague paid for the one that was repainted in Montague Center this past year. But they only have writing on 2 sides, but I'm guessing it's still in the same ballpark.
We have a date and time for our next meeting.
Yep.
Okay. Anything else? Anything else we'd like to?
No.
Gentlemen? Okay. Well, good to see you all.
Nice to see you.
And,
We've adjourned, huh?
yeah.
All right.
Everybody's hanging in there. Yes. Well,
Meeting adjourned?
meeting is officially adjourned.
Okay, great. Good
You need
night.
to have a motion to close.
Yeah.
Motion to close.
Motion to shut the computer off.
I second it.
Right. All in
Yeah, yeah.
favor?
Aye, aye, aye.
Aye.
Unanimous.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everybody. Thank you.
Bye.
So long.
Are we the last ones?
We are.
Oh God, it's
What
recording.
did you make of that? Is this?
Let me go offline. I'll give you a call.
All right, we'll do.
Bye.